Hello everybody and welcome back to another JST video, and today we're continuing looking with scratch coding. More importantly, we're going to take a look at the different blocks that you can use within the coding program. So we'll go ahead and open up our browser, get to our website, and of course go to create. As we select the create, we wait for it to load. If you haven't checked out the previous videos before, be sure to check those out. There should be 4 up right now, and this is the 5th. So our program has just opened up, and of course we've already learned how to make a character move, change the character, and change our different backdrops. But today we're going to kind of look a little bit more in detail in some of the different coding blocks and what their functions are. Starting with the first one is motion. So motion, of course, is our movement tab, and these are to make the character move, turn, point in a certain direction, point towards the mouse, or this can be changed at a later time. I'll show you guys how. But there's many different movement tabs that you can use. It's just a matter of what your purpose in your coding program is, and then how to go about, selecting the right block or tab that works for you. In this case, very quickly, we'll start an event with the green flag clicked. We'll say point the direction of our character down, and we'll say let's start this character at the position 149 and 81. And this is a Cartesian plane that, if you can kind of make sense of it being back here, that's kind of how you get these numbers on your X and Y axis. Now if you hover your mouse around, you'll notice that down here it actually tells you exactly where your mouse is. So right now this particular spot is X 181 and Y negative 180. As I move up, my Y moves up, my X is relatively staying the same, showing how nice and steady my finger is, and so on. So we're going to say that we want our sprite character to go to 140 and Y 81, and then point in the direction 180, which is down. So we'll see, green flag clicked. There you go. So our character is now facing down and is at this particular position. If we wanted it to move a certain amount of steps, of course we could do move 10 steps, but there's two kind of different ways that you can go about moving, and there's either the move or the glide. So the glide will show a nice transition towards a certain XY area, where move is kind of like a blunt, very fast movement. Either or are okay to use. Again, it's up to you on what exactly you'd like to use. I personally kind of like the glide just because it kind of shows what you can do. So we'll say glide 4 seconds to, we'll keep the X value the same, and we'll change the Y to a lower number, which means our sprite character should move down in our video screen. So we'll say let's go to 62. So we add that to the bottom of our coding block. We hit the green flag, and now you can see our character went to this spot, pointed the direction down, and slowly glided to this point. So that is all again found in the motion tab. Again, this is where you can change the movement and where our particular characters or sprite characters are. If we were to go into the looks tab, this is, looks. So I'm not exactly sure why the say is particular in this tab, because to speak is not really so much a look, but for whatever the reason it is in here. So this is where the talking is done. This is where you can show or hide a particular backdrop or character. This is where you can switch what the character looks like, or switch the backdrop like we discussed in a previous video, and then change different effects and whatnot. So we'll go ahead and program something here. So we'll go into ends. We'll grab our green flag. We'll say bonjour for anybody who's French. And then we will switch the costume of our character. So when we click on this costume, and of course we're selected on our sprite, this tab right here that says costume, it shows that there are two different costumes or looks of our character. So right now it is obviously in costume 1, that is, the starting costume of this sprite forever, but it also has the costume number 2. So if we go back to our scripts, we can say, okay, when the green flag is clicked, it would normally be on costume 1. Our sprite character will say bonjour for 2 seconds and then switch the costume to costume 2. So let's go ahead and click that. Bonjour. And it should switch. I'm sorry, I accidentally had it selected on costume 1. So we'll try that again. So we click it, it says bonjour, and then it's switched. So that's how simple it is to use the looks blocking tab. Again, it's important just to remember things happen in a logical order. So the more it makes sense to you, the more it'll make sense in your program. Another block tab that we have is our sound block. And this, of course, is for playing sounds. So very simply, we click the green flag, we go to sound. I won't particularly play this sound because it kind of gets a little loud. But when you go to this arrow and you click the drop down menu, you hit this record button with the dots at the bottom. And this is where you can go ahead and exit out what is there. You can choose from an assortment of sound clips that the program comes with. You can record your own sound or you can upload one from your computer. We'll choose one from the library, which is the boing noise. And then we go back to our scripts, play sound. We'll click on boing. And then once we hit the green flag, hopefully it's not too loud. It wasn't too loud, that was great, but you heard that boing sound. Again, this is how simple it is to use the sounds. The pen tab is where you can draw lines and whatnot, and your lines can be drawn using a sprite, or a lot of the times what people might do is they might hide their sprite so that they can't see it, but the pen tab usually is pressed very quickly. We'll hit the green flag, we'll click the pen, we'll select the pen down, and then we will go to motion, move, and we'll say, actually we'll go with our glide. We'll go for 8 seconds, and we'll go to this point right here, and we'll see what happens. So if you notice right here, there is now a line that has been drawn. We will use this tool at the top, that's our shrink tab, just to shrink our sprite character a bit. So we'll be able to see that line a little bit better. So essentially what we've created is a line drawn with a pen. And this line goes from this point, which was 140.62, and it is now at 140.10, as you can see. So the pen tool, great for drawing stuff. It could be used for art. It can be used for tic-tac-toe and so on. Very cool block. The events tab we've gone through before. This is how you start your program. The control tab, this is where all the loops come into play. You'll see a repeat, a forever, an if then, an if then and else, a wait until, and of course a repeat until. To end all the scripts that are happening, which is basically the actual motion of your program being put into place, you can use this stop tab or stop block. And a couple of these that are at the bottom, it's not really important. I haven't really seen too many programs using those, but if you, for some reason, have an idea, they're right here. It's when I start as a clone, create a clone of something, and delete the particular clone. Um, of course, like I mentioned, this wait block is one of my favorite blocks to use. I would say 75% of the programs out there, if they've ever come across an issue, they just needed to grab one of these wait tabs and put it somewhere within their code, and their programs or games or whatnot have essentially worked afterwards. Um, in this sensing block, this is for uh, your mouse or your keyboard or a question to be asked. This is where you locate that information. So let's give that a try. When the green flag is clicked, let's ask a question, which is sure. Um, what day is it? Now, let's see what happens when that green flag is clicked. Green flag clicked. What day is it? And we'll just say Tuesday, and nothing happens. So you ask yourself, like, well, why did nothing happen? This is where we talk about logical thinking. We have not told our program to do anything once that answer has been selected. So what can we do? Well, let's go back to our control, and we have an if loop. Now, when we grab this if, we put it underneath. Now we say if something. So what is it that might have to go into here? So if something, something, then something else, which is also known as otherwise something. If we look through our blocks and our tabs, we should come across something that says in our operators tab, something that gives us an idea of saying, okay, if something maybe equals something, and we come across this block right here. Now you'll notice that this shape is a hexagon, which is perfect for these because these are hexagon shapes as well. So when we put that into our if loop, now we have something that says if something equals something, then something else or otherwise something. So what is it that we're asking here? So we're asking what day is it? So we're looking for an answer. When we go back to our sensing, we'll see that right here, the 6th tab down, there's an answer block. So if the answer equals, let's say, Tuesday, then what do we want to happen? Let's say the character will say, yes, you are correct for 2 seconds. Now this else or otherwise means if the answer is not Tuesday. So if the answer is not Tuesday, maybe we'll play a sound. And we'll keep the boing because it sounded nice. Let's see what happens once we run this program. Now we know that logically we've said when the green flag is clicked, let's ask everybody the question, what day is it? And we will wait for their answer. Now, if their answer is equal to Tuesday, then say, yes, you are correct for 2 seconds. Else, or otherwise, play the sound boing. So what we know is if we see our characters say, yes, you are correct, it means that the person who responded to our original question was correct. Otherwise, or else, if we hear that sound boing, well then we know that the question was answered incorrectly. Let's test it out. Hit that green flag. What day is it? Tuesday? Yes, you are correct. So I have answered that question correctly. And there you go. We've just opened up our first program that has asked a question, used our hexagonal equal equal, We've put our answer, we've looked at our looks, and we've played our sound. Let's run it again, put the wrong answer, and see what happens. What day is it today? Monday. Boing. That gives us the idea, and that tells us that our user who has answered this question, which is me, has answered it incorrectly, and that is why we heard the boing sound. Thanks so much for watching this video. Hope you guys like it. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys next time. This is JST.